Knights! When they're good, when they're bad. Summit School of Chess, National Master Jesse Cohen. Knights become stronger pieces as they go up the board to a certain extent. On the first and second rows, they are quite useless, and you should immediately try to fix them. In this situation, Black's knight on d7 is not a very good piece, and should look to fix itself. On the other hand, once knights have reached the third row up, they are considered not as good as a bishop, but having good potential. From here, they can hop into the fifth rank and have excellent future chances. A knight that has reached the fourth row up, 1, 2, 3, 4, is considered equal to a bishop and is a strong piece. A knight on the fifth rank is clearly superior to a bishop. You should probably try and trade it off for another knight or bishop if possible. A knight on the sixth rank is basically its pinnacle, its ultimate location. If you can get a knight to the sixth rank and keep it there, it's usually worth at least a rook, and the opponent should often sacrifice to get rid of it. One of my favorite ways to get one there quickly is in the winnower variation of the French defense. In this position, while many people play the common move a3, I'll play bishop d2. And after c takes d4, knight to b5, bishop takes bishop check, queen takes back, Black suddenly notices that there is an outpost on the d6 square, and there's nothing that they can do about it. Knight c6, f4, knight e7, knight d6 check. Black is not going to castle, and this thing is a total monster. Black will have to immediately get rid of it. However, that's when knights don't really get any better. Moving a knight to the seventh rank honestly doesn't make it any better. Yes, you're going further up the board, but now what we have is a case of diminishing returns. As you go closer to the other edge of the board, your knight is losing the amount of mobility it can move to. It's not usually worth it. Knights are also better in closed positions when pawns are locked, especially in the middle. Take a look at this position right here. All these pawns being locked in the middle does not bother our knight. Knight f5. The knight jumps up the board into a more powerful post. This knight is now as good as a bishop and applies excellent pressure. White's bishops and Black's bishops, on the other hand, all the bishops in this position are having a very tough time. Remember, knights are stronger when there are only pawns on one side of the board. Remember, if you want to beat knights, you have to use the first world champion Wilhelm Steinitz's rule and drive them backwards. In this position, we need to play the move pawn to a5. In this position, Black unfortunately notices that the only safe squares for this knight are d7 and c8. In fact, in this position, Black didn't know what to do and played knight to c8. Driving knights backwards and keeping them out of their good squares is how you defeat them. Now I want to look at 3 game examples to show you just how you can use this information to make the most of your knights. In this first position, it's super famous position. World champion Vasily Smyslov is playing Rudakovsky, and Smyslov has just attacked this bishop on e6, and Rudakovsky plays bishop c4, saving the bishop from the pawn, going forward and offering a trade of bishops with white. But this is a catastrophic idea. Here's the problem. In this position, there is a lovely potential outpost for white on d5, and this knight on c3 would love to go in it. The only pieces of equal value that can trade off for such a knight, if it were to go in there, is this bishop and this knight. Helping white trade off those pieces is not a good idea. White happily plays bishop takes bishop, queen takes back, and bishop to g5, forcing a trade of knight for bishop, because if this knight moves, the bishop behind it will fall. Rook to e8 tries to unpin things, but it's too late. Bishop takes knight, bishop takes back, and knight to d5. This knight reigns supreme. Not only is it on the 5th rank, where it is clearly superior to this bishop, but this bishop being trapped on the same pawns is a terribly bad inactive bishop. Not to mention, the only thing that will ever make this knight ever have to leave the square is having to sacrifice a rook for it. This is a similar position. This is Bobby Fischer playing the white pieces. Notice again, white really wants to put a knight into this outpost, a really solid square guarded by our pawn. However, there are still two key defenders of that square. Bishop g5. We need to get them off the board now. Queen b6 check, king h1. Castle's kingside. Bishop takes knight, bishop takes back, bishop d5. Super strong move. Not just offering a trade of bishops, but by pinning it to the rook, it guarantees it. We try to unpin it, but it's just too late. Bishop takes bishop, rook takes back, and in just a couple moves, that knight becomes a most powerful creature. That knight is easily worth probably a rook, and definitely better than the ugly creature on f6. Finally, one of my favorite positions of all times. Again, this ties back into planning as well. When you realize what you have that is the most different than your opponent, you should be energetically fighting to make it superior. In this position, the biggest difference between white's position and black's position is that white has a knight and black has a bishop. In this position, we should be doing everything we can to prove that this knight is superior to the bishop. Do you see an amazing square that if this knight gets to, would definitely rock the face of black? d6. That is an amazing square. But now you have to think to yourself, how are you actually going to get it there? Knight to b1. Now you've got to be really careful about such a move like this, okay? I caution any new chess player against bringing back their pieces like this. But in this position, for several reasons, one, the fact that white is clearly developed with all the other pieces. Two, because of the locked pawns, it gives more time to do ideas like this. And three, again, at all costs, when you realize what your difference is, you've got to fight for it. Do you see where the knight's going? Queen f8, knight a3, bishop, knight, bishop, knight. And yes, black could take that knight and eventually does take that knight, but when that happens, what will replace it is a super powerful pawn that black will have to try and prevent from queening for the rest of the game. Remember everybody, your knight is an important member of your team. Learning how all the members of your team function and how to make them best is key in order to become a master. Remember, in order to make your knight stronger, you need to get up the board, and they need to find long-term permanent homes. We call these outposts. Remember that if you go too far, you can have diminishing returns. Remember also that you can beat up on knights by chasing them backwards to more passive squares and taking away their nice permanent homes, just like William Steins teaches us, the first world champion. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, ring that bell, all that good stuff, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.